Hi, and welcome to the Fluid Voice. I'm Ozma in the Dark, and she, they pronouns, and I am here with the wonderful, lovely co hosts. Let's start with you, Christy Abbey. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing surprisingly well. I'm doing better. I'm I'm all right. Well, I guess it'll get okay. Eventually, I'll be well. Maybe someday. You know, I hate everything and everyone. No, I'm doing great. Thanks. She, her pronouns.
Dude, that's just an
Nearly talked
emotional
yourself.
roller coaster. What are you doing?
It was my week.
Perfect. How are you?
I'm doing perfect. He, him pronouns.
So this week, I figured, given the presidential election and the fact that there's an incumbent president and vice president here in America, where everyone in this, everyone hosting this show is from, it'd be good to talk about Biden and Harris.
And how all votes matter.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the voting's already happened. We're past that part.
You may think so.
I mean, okay, so yes, in 2 years, there's a lot of Senate and is it just Senate or Representative? Wow, you know what? I'm just failing high school economics, geography. Wow, I can't.
Just the Senate.
Yeah, just the Senate. Okay. So, I figured we'd go over our thoughts about starting with Biden, because he is the presidential candidate. I just figured we'd go over thoughts and talk about the potential good and things that are good about Biden and things that we might be concerned about.
Ooh! I got the most important. He's not Trump.
I'm thinking
that's the very best thing about him, in my opinion. I mean, that I really like that feature.
I mean, that is a good feature.
I think I can count on him to continue to hold that platform into the future as well.
But that said, that's an incredibly low bar, and that says a lot about the country if not Trump is a wonderful thing to you. Perfect.
Yes, well, I mean, not a totalitarian dictatorship going, yay!
I mean, yes, it is good that voting for anyone but Trump is significantly better than voting for Trump.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, if we're going to be political, I'm going to be political. And honestly, that was where, I don't think Joe Biden is an anathema to the American way or anything like that. But as people who went all freaky when he nominated Camilla Harris as his running mate. And people were freaking out. And I'm like, if he nominated Beelzebub, I'd still be voting for him. Why is it important that it was Camilla Harris? How does this suddenly upset you? This is nuts. He's still not Trump.
Yes, and not Trump is a good standard to have. However, obviously, I don't think complacency is necessarily a good thing. And obviously, this isn't the end to having to struggle for various improvements on society. That said, it is a million times easier to do it when you're not in a camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that part of it is I really would say I'm going to shut up because Christy You were just starting to talk, and I've
No.
already said a lot.
It is going to be a bit of a shock. I mean, two things are going to be a bit shocking. It's to go from a president we have to pay attention to constantly, to and a sociopath, to someone who we won't have to pay attention to nearly as much and who is incredibly empathetic.
Yeah, although the part of my brain that does actually pay attention to ableism immediately started clicking when you called Trump a sociopath, and I'm like, well, technically, there are sociopaths who understand some of the aspects of things better, and they're varying ranges, and that doesn't inherently make them a bad person. And I don't want to demonize psychological stuff, and went over all those things as soon as any sort of psychological thing gets mentioned with that's
Yes,
but that being said, I know
he's not
also
he's not
that you know that.
Yes, I
Well,
do,
it's-
and I go under the old definitions, and it's where sociopaths are made, not born. I don't think he was born that way. I think he was made that way.
Well, it's a combination. It's sociopathology combined with narcissistic personality disorder. Not all sociopaths are narcissistic.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
then you start getting into the diagnosis, and like, I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to diagnose Trump. I just know he's an egotistical prick. That's the
Well, I
things
mean,
I can
yeah.
say for sure. He's an egotistical prick who doesn't seem to exhibit much empathy, or if he experiences that feeling, he tends to ignore it.
On the practical side, for the trans community, I think that one of the things is that Biden has historically, every office he has held, he goes, and every term he's held it, he does the complete and total party line, except for one or two issues which are his own, where he diverges from the party. Not strongly, but he diverges from them. He either does something different or stronger or whatever from the Democratic Party line. And that there's still, since he has made absolutely no indication of what he might be caring about during his presidency, and has been towing the Democratic Party line, encouraging him to pick one of those as being LGBTQ rights or trans rights. One of the things that he decides is going to be the thing that he champions, that he spends a little political capital on during his first term, might not be a bad idea.
Well, did you watch his speech on Saturday?
No, I hung in there, but then I got bored.
He brought up fighting for trans rights. Biden has been vocal about basically overturning all the shit that Trump did.
Okay. Well, so I know he's Biden, vocal about that, but that's been in line with the party on that, I think.
No, I think to some degree that is actually, I'm not sure if the Democratic Party necessarily cares as much. I'm saying Biden might actually be, in terms of trans rights, currently, Biden might actually be a little bit better than the party line for the Democratic Party with that issue.
See,
partially from his experience with Obama.
He was ahead of Obama. I mean, in 2011, was it? He called trans rights the civil rights of our era.
So. Well, yeah, but I mean, just being vice president and being more aware of that, I think, made a significant impact on Biden's view of trans rights.
I think one of the things that and I'll shut up in a second.
Yeah.
But one of the things is during that town hall, because he talked to every single person in there like for another hour after it was over, in the one town hall that replaced the second presidential debate. The mother of the trans child is the one he was really concentrating on, because he's like he was and his answer was pretty sweet.
The thing is that the LGBTQ community is they're young people. A lot of them, they vote
Mm-hmm.
much more than other people do. They recognize the power of their vote. They recognize the power of block voting, and they are. If you do something that's good for gays, trans people will be there with you. You understand that they are in that way homogenous. That so you can be working to service that community and get a lot of bang for your buck.
So
if that makes
So I have several comments to that.
Okay.
I'd be up for servicing more trans people.
Okay, that's good. So first, I want to say that obviously there are various waves, and the most connected LGBTQIA plus community is the modern one because of the internet and whatnot. So the most connected people are the youngest. Because a lot of people just, like, I grew up not being aware of where to find out information about being trans. Like, I wasn't sure about a lot of that, and there are plenty of other people who, obviously, especially for trans rights, who went deep stealth or went some variation of that when it comes to LGBT rights. But there also has been a long history of an attitude of some of the aspects of the LGBT community of feeling LGB and sometimes T is a sort of almost slogan that was made up by a lot of the trans community, because that's how it felt sometimes.
Yeah.
Because not because it felt like sometimes things were just celebrated like everything was over. When gay when it was okay for gay people to be in the military, there was like all this celebration, like that was over. Trans people were still barred, and it was very easy for a long time to feel just totally isolated if you're trans, and it is less so that case now than ever, but I still feel like the Democratic Party seems to end up the party line for the Democratic Party seems to be more LGB and sometimes T, and that's why I think Biden actually cares more about trans rights than the DNC. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and
well, I mean, that'd be a good thing. I mean, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no,
maybe
it is
maybe
a good
letting
thing.
him know and say, maybe letting him know that could be an important issue, that people are listening to him for that.
Oh, people are listening to him for that, and that is one thing Biden has been vocal about doing something about right away.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that that's something where it might the community's voice could, the individuals in the community, their voice. I mean, believe it or not, they track letters that they receive. You can just write a letter to Biden, and that counts. He will listen to that he'll listen to it in terms of it's a stack of paper that has a number attached to it.
Well, okay. I mean that, and given what Christy said earlier, he'll given how much he talked in the town hall, maybe he does read every letter addressed to him. I don't know. I
Well,
know. What was it? Ringo Starr did that.
What one of the things he said it would be. I mean, it was a lot like. I'm trying. Me good words.
It's okay. It's one of those days.
He didn't. He does. He doesn't understand how trans rights are not already a thing.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
It's. I mean, in the same way you don't, and in. I mean, you get that it isn't, but you also wonder. You don't. It's like, what? How is this
even possible?
Yeah.
Well,
how is this even possible in my world? I have a world of view, an idea of what the world is like, and the idea that that isn't part of it just doesn't fit with that. I mean, I know my worldview is off. I know it's my. I don't mean to say worldview really. My sense, my internal clock, my internal barometer of what the world is like isn't necessarily in sync with what I actually see in the world around me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously Biden has learned over time because he was not always good with this stuff, but he has been vocal for he's been vocal and relatively clear about how he feels about trans rights for you said 2011 was a big thing.
It
could have been like 2011, 2012. Even if it was 2015, he's been vocal for a few years at the very least.
Yep.
About trans rights, and that is important. And I mean, obviously I don't like the idea of getting too stuck on people's pasts. I mean, because that doesn't necessarily help. That said, I don't you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have any reason to think obviously Biden is not a perfect person. I don't know that he has any plans to deal with sex worker rights or what's another issue that's just why the fuck is this still an issue? I mean, sex workers' rights is like a ridiculous thing. Yeah, but I'll probably bring that up more with Kamala Harris.
It's a trickier issue.
Yes and no.
I think there's a lot more people that would be polarized on it. They haven't been acquainted with any ideas of. They'll just be going, "Why should they have rights?" Instead of, I mean, they're very unlikely to be saying that about trans people because they've been acquainted with the idea that they are feeling pressured and oppressed, and that they actually are being, in many cases, pressured and oppressed, and that maybe there's something to that, and they're used to the idea of the discussion. But sex workers.
Well, I mean, that's because poverty is oftentimes victim blamed, and also some people. There's still some aspects of society that are into this sort of monogamous religious sort of marriage.
Yeah.
Yes, and that they think that if you don't want to be, they think sex worker means streetwalker, and streetwalker means why don't you could just walk to a shelter and they'd take you in and you'd be out of that world. All you'd have to do is make that decision.
But I mean, also it's yeah, it's also dependent on the person. Not everyone experiences something that's bad. But yeah,
Yes, I'm saying there are people who they're a sex worker. They do work for money. It's a job. They get various levels of enjoyment out of it, like anyone else might out of their job, and that they do it well, and have a plan for their life like anybody else, and so on. It's not that it's a very different thing, and that they deserve to have rights that they deserve to be able to have rights, unionize, do anything like that. There's other things.
Yeah, speaking of the benefits, Biden has said something about working for unions.
He said a lot about working for unions, to the point I was like, come on, there's other issues, move on. Which is not how I usually go about.
Yeah, but
justice
the anti-union aspects of society have been incredibly harmful.
Oh yeah.
And have affected so many people, and the fact that not enough of the Democratic Party even addresses unions.
Unions are their own problem. They are a problem, but they're a problem that only arises if management allows that to happen.
Well, yeah, but
management, if you do it correctly, your people will never want to.
Well, yeah, but that would also involve having motivation to run a company that's not based around acquiring more and more wealth and getting bigger and more powerful.
Well, no, you just have to do it correctly. I mean, seriously, it's
well,
not that hard.
Because, the thing is, you can exploit. Let's just put it this way: you have to put people above the company.
Well, it's not just that. I can look at you and I can say, "Hey, guess what, employees? As a new perk of working for my company, where we make left-handed Rithritz, you get to have a 25% discount on RV rentals." Now, why is this the case? Because I just bought an RV rental shop.
That's not the good way to handle it. No.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a perk that they get, and I'm getting benefit out of it. I'm making money both hands, and they're getting a benefit. Ta-da.
Yeah, but the thing is, people, if enough places don't pay people enough, you end up with a
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that, yes, I'm motivated to make sure I'm paying people enough that they want to rent an RV for their vacation.
Yeah, you might be, but the company next to you that doesn't, and there's more people who need jobs than there are jobs, they'll end up making more money than you, and they'll have a more successful business, and then they can run you to the ground.
Yeah, underselling me on the Rithritz, but then again, they've also got to be paying people to negotiate with the union.
No, they fight anti-union.
That costs money too. I just spent my money on the RV dealership. See?
I mean, it doesn't necessarily cost that much money to break unions. You just have to have one person try to talk to inform a manager to try to get them to agree with union stuff too early, and then a bunch of people can get fired, and then you can get a bunch of new people
who I've got to train. It's short-term happiness that way. It's happiness, assuming that that's a fat wallet, is what makes you happy.
One of the just on the side note, one of the biggest things that happened during the Gilded Age was people not being able to discuss how much they made.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that's a habit. You don't tell people how much you make, and it's like, I think it's I think strangely enough, since it's easy enough on social media to actually find out how much people make. That it's starting to turn around a little bit. People know I'm having word problems again. If a train pays $15 going west from sorry, word problems. It doesn't. So all salaries should be public, frankly.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about legally, technically they are, but many companies, or well, I mean, it might depend on the state. At the very least in Minnesota, they are, but I have been told by companies that I am not supposed to share my income. And the thing is, people only know so many laws, oftentimes. And that makes it...
That.
What?
That's
actually illegal.
Yeah, but a lot of companies do. They will tell their employees as part of policy that what they pay that employee is that company's business, and that if they spread that around, that's spreading around company business.
Yeah,
and they would be so wrong. There's court precedent.
Yeah, I know, no. But like most people don't know that. That's the thing. Most people aren't educated on all the court precedents is related to what is or isn't illegal for a company to do. So companies will try to get away with what they can, and if they're not charged for it because the person doesn't know the law, then they get away with it. And it's part of why it's important to push for a lot more open unions. Obviously, because everything needs to be open for there to be no... or to help dissuade corruption. But the thing is, unions... There are plenty of people who run unions who do know these laws and will be like, no, that's fucking illegal. Like, they'll just tell you right that. They'll be like, no, that's illegal. They can't do that. We can get a lawyer in.
Yeah, well, it's not, but it's not illegal for them to tell you that. It's just illegal for them to actually do anything about it. They can tell employees that they mustn't or that they have to do all kinds of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's technically true too.
Yeah, it's not a trade. It's not trade secrets. It's not a. It's. Oh yeah, my brain is desperately trying to flip through the.
Okay,
I believe I was told that
they try and sell it on the basis of it is the same as if you had gotten a hold of personnel files that listed everybody's salary, and then you disseminated that to the world at large, as if you'd gotten a hold of corporate information and then turned it over to the world. And that would be a problem. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely that happened at the last two jobs. I mean, I didn't follow those rules, but I was told that that was something I wasn't supposed to do. Admittedly, I didn't ask, so I didn't actually know they're going to say that, but temp jobs are the worst.
I got told that at Friendlies with my college job.
Mm-hmm.
They made me to understand I was making more than most people there. I have no idea if that was true or not.
Yeah, and the thing is, also, companies can fire you, and they don't need a specific reason to fire you, incredibly dense reason to fire you, and they can make something up.
Well, I mean, when I say court precedent, there's a Supreme Court case, and my brain, like I said, my brain is trying to go through the file folder or the Rolodex because I'm old, to remember what it was. I should remember what it was. I can probably look it up, but it will take me a while.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah, it's no, no one can tell you to not tell someone you're selling.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And no one
Corporations also-
should fire you to help make an OSHA violation cheaper for the company. Sorry, I'm still there about 3M.
Companies don't always behave very well. Is the thing that they don't obey the rules. They aren't even. Then they're not even. They're fairly motivated to obey the letter of the law, but not the intent.
Well, the thing is, they need accountability, and corporations don't have enough accountability, and there's a limited number of places. I mean, obviously, the FDA helps a ton when it comes to some of the aspects of corporate accountability, but even they don't. They only are able to do so much. And when it comes to a lot of things, it's just, it would be a lot easier with unions in terms of the livelihood. But I mean, admittedly, I think there needs to be a baseline just properly taken care of so that you could actually arguably use capitalism for a bit if you can have the needs guaranteed.
Yeah, if you come out with a universal basic income, it creates a way of transitioning the economy, but it works excellently with capitalism. It really does. You can go, well, minimum wage, we still have to set something as a minimum wage, but minimum wage can be just, you go, well, we rely on the market to try and find where that goes.
The thing is, so capitalism, the reasoning for the free market involves you being able to choose the best job to work at. And the only way you're going to choose the best job to work at is if you're not desperate.
Right. And so the fact is the McDonald's will have to offer enough money to attract somebody to work for them and to make it so that they can get some of the best employees instead of Burger King getting all the best employees. So they're in competition with the world in general and with Burger King for those employees who want to flip burgers. And that they people who go and do that, then what we find out is that they use that money to better themselves, to make themselves distinct, to attract a mate. That's
what?
Attracting a mate, it seems to be the biggest thing that it's about, is that people go and they try and make themselves distinct. They better themselves to make themselves distinct, and they try and attract a mate. They want to be distinct for those reasons.
Oh, wait, why do I want to be distinct?
That would be other reasons. You can have your own reasons. You would be one of the people who's not reporting that you go, well, my most important reason I want to do that is, but men and women alike, they do things to try and make themselves distinct so that they are different than other people. And they view that as a way to attract a mate.
I mean, well, let's be honest. You're a trans girl and you're not a programmer. Something's very off.
Hey, I know a little bit about programming and I know a little bit about hacking. Okay, so that's the. I was gonna say that's the important thing. No, I'm not completely unaware of programming. I used to play around with BASIC when I was a kid. So, and also, I have actually tried to teach myself JavaScript, and I've tried to teach myself JavaScript before, C++. I may have gotten the furthest with... I can't remember if I got the furthest with Fortran, which is an entertaining name to get good at. It's been around since the 80s or whatever.
I'm not going to say a darn thing right there. That's my kind of opening in this show.
Shit, I can't remember the other. The popular one now. I mean, admittedly, JavaScript's more popular for artificial intelligence, but that's another story about how I want to program a chatbot for my Discord, because my Discord is very bleak and empty, and I want to liven it up with a chatbot. Okay.
C++. I don't know.
No, JavaScript is good for
No,
chatbots, and also Discord uses JavaScript heavily, so Discord's going to be able to understand the programming lingo, and then you start getting into the mathematical aspects of how. Look, I have had a desire to look into the mathematical aspects of evolution just because I took some calculus and work that in with some programming to create some form of artificial intelligence. But I realize there are smarter ways to do that, at least in basic forms. But look, I have weird days, okay?
Sweetie, it is really easy to get you off topic.
It is. But that said, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris has had some very strong trans Twitter pushback.
And trans Twitter some of trans Twitter doesn't understand fucking nuance.
I realize that. That being said, I have decided to take the centrist road with Kamala Harris. And say that she's not a saint for trans rights, and she's not a person trying to destroy all of trans rights and doesn't care just because she was following the law in California.
Which was her job.
Yeah,
Yes.
Following the law. She's an implement of the law. It's only when she's given discretion in her job that you start to, only in the points where she has discretion can you blame her for any of the choices that get made there. She's supposed to do the implementation that she's under instruction for. You don't blame them.
Yeah.
I don't blame Mueller for the Mueller report. He was following instructions. He did it under the instructions which he was given.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I have some. I think Kamala Harris will toe what I view as the DNC party line when it comes to LGBT rights, and that LGB and sometimes T is how I get the impression based off of how Kamala frames things, and based on the fact that anything that she does, she doesn't seem to fight for trans rights unless it's also direct. I realize there are connections with LGBT rights, but she fought against the gay and trans panic but she only talked about it as the gay panic. She obviously she dealt with gay weddings and other LGBT related stuff.
Sorry.
And when it comes to things, she made like a big deal of making a whole thing against giving all this advice to fight against gay panic, which was legally allowed for a while for far too long in California, and by defend against the use of gay panic. The gay and trans panic defense. But obviously, she doesn't. I'm not, at the very least, when I looked more into Kamala Harris, I'm not aware of her. She seems to be a lot more cagey when talking about whether or not she supports trans rights. Not to say that she is actively against them or anything, because I don't think that's the case.
Trans is the new
went
gay.
in and read the case. I mean, it is in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, Perfict and I are of the age where, in
the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of places in America where you could be asked to move out of an apartment because you were gay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And one of the things that whenever I'd talk gay rights, because I did a lot in the 80s, well, I did a lot of LGBTQ rights anyway because I was a good ally.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you say that, but my parents also cared about that stuff, and I realized it took them a bit to really get to understand trans rights. But I mean, they did care about that, and I was always taught from a young age that you know, at the very least, LGBT rights should be like the normal, like.
Well, I forget. Perfect. How old are you?
59.
59. Okay, so I'm 55.
So my parents are still more awesome than both of you because my dad was born in 49. And although he took the longest. Wait, my mom was born in 58. What year is it? 50, 60. My mom is 62 years old. And she picked up on trans rights pretty quickly after I came out, and she well, both my parents have fought for LGBT rights and have always been a fan of supporting that. I'm just bragging about my parents now. I'm sorry. I got off topic just to brag about my parents.
Okay. I have trouble with it on the you go look at this group of people. We have identified them, and we can separate them by some sorting system. They're left-handed and Lithuanian, so all left-handed Lithuanians, and I think they're people too. And I go, yeah.
Well, the reason I asked for the age, because I spent a large chunk of time when I was very young down south. For Long Beach, Florida, and a small town in Tennessee, and a lot of the things that they said there are, you know, white women won't feel safe with black women, although they didn't use black women coming into the bathroom.
Yeah.
And then in the 80s, it was. In particular, when gay rights was starting to be really a thing, would you want starts with F,
a gay gentleman standing next to you when you pee? Yeah.
When you pee, yes, thank you. I was trying to figure out a way to say that didn't actually say that. There are words I do not use, and have never. So, but yeah, and weirdly enough, I'm hearing the same exact arguments. So yeah, it's not only it really is the civil rights issue. And I try and explain that. I got into an argument on. In the comment section of one of Jesse's videos, which is like, oh shit, poor Jesse, because she reads the comments.
I am half the time too scared to read comments. I'll be honest. Not to say that you shouldn't comment. It's a good thing. I just depending on the video, determines if I want to read it. And what sort of comment.
It's just, I try and explain that I've heard all these arguments before, and I've heard them used against different people constantly, and they're the exact same arguments. There isn't a difference.
Yeah.
There just isn't a difference, but we have to keep our daughters safe. Is no different to me, and then would you want your daughter to marry one?
Yeah.
And
which I'm sure Perfict and I have both heard.
Yeah. But I have the same problem when people are saying that for instance, that blacks really should live separate from whites now. They're saying, but that's by choice, and that they really should be doing it. And I'm like, I've said, I can go find you B-roll film of a guy in black and white with a buzz cut and a white button-down shirt telling you about how blacks, using a different word, really should live separate from whites. Are you going to tell me he was right all along?
Well, no, that's a big problem. That said,
and that, yeah, I just find the whole concept in all of the levels where you're trying to deny the personhood of other people nuts. If somebody wants to stand up and tell me how they think that they are not a person, I'll listen to them all day long. But as soon as they're saying that other people are not people, it sounds ludicrous. It sounds crazy that they are even having that discussion.
Yeah. That said,
back to politics?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
that is part of politics now.
Yeah, it is a part of politics, and it is important. I realize it's on topic only in that it relates to politics. I think
it's taken various politicians a long time to get there, and a lot of them still aren't. And and some of them are.
Okay, back on politics. What about the impending lawsuits? The lawsuits that Trump is threatening to file, already has filed. The fact that his campaign was contacting states about their appointment of the faithless.
Threw them the fucking out. They threw them out.
The faithless electors. You're familiar with that?
Oh yeah.
No.
Okay. Most states don't require that their electors for the Electoral College have to carry the vote. In other words, what the people voted, they don't have to do that vote. Yeah. Some states they have to do it. If none of them do they have to do it. They can't make a law that says you have to do it. But in many states, if you vote differently than the people voted, that's a gesture. You're recalled. Another elector will be sent, and they will then present the vote. And if they don't do it, they get recalled. So until somebody does it the way you wanted them to. Mm-hmm. In a number of states, you don't have to do it. You just have to pay a fine that varies between, I think it was $400 and $4,000. Which
is piddly shit to rich people.
Right. And that you have to pay. It was at the time it was instituted considerably more, but it's now dwindled to where it's something that can be afforded out of pocket change. And that I mean,
for rich people.
Yeah, on a political campaign scale, this is, what are you talking about here? And that they can go and cast the votes otherwise. And in some states they were working on that had Republican legislatures where they could change how the electors are selected, where they could select people who would be controlled by the party, by the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Yes.
They specifically were contacting them on a program of overturning the election should it go the wrong way. And they basically, people found out about it.
Yeah,
not saying Trump did it, just his campaign was doing it. They were exploring that option.
Especially in Pennsylvania, but
Oh.
Doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
I mean, it does matter because December 11th, as soon as the votes are certified. So, no wait, December 11th is the electors meeting. Oh,
That's when the electors vote for the electoral college, and then it's finally verified on January 6th by
no,
Congress.
yeah, it has to be accepted by Congress, and there's
Yeah, there's a lot of like
January 1st by Congress. I don't remember. I mean,
I
civics class is a long ways in the past.
it's you've got it in the right order. It's supposed to be accepted by the incoming Congress, and
At their first when they first convene, it's the first thing they're supposed to do.
yes,
I remember that.
yeah. It's I think back to Kamala Harris. I think the ultimate thing is I feel like she still has a ways to go for me. I don't think she's bad. Well, I don't think she's bad for everything, obviously, but that's sorry. I got distracted by the bus pass I had on my desk in the folder. Or in a card holder. Sorry.
so we don't even have to distract you. You can do it all by yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's bus pass. It's bus pass the day I got hit by a car. So of course I kept it. I put it in a card sleeve and accidentally forgot about it on my desk. Sorry, really distractible. Yes. So I get the impression that Kamala Harris has ways to go because I get the impression that she toes the party line a bit too strongly, and she gives off she for lack of a better term off the top of my head, she doesn't give off good vibes.
You don't get a good read off of her.
Not to say that I know she. So here's the thing: there will never be a perfect president, and there will never be a perfect vice president.
No,
well,
because Perfict is not running.
Right.
Anyways, no. Seriously though, you can't expect anything like that, and the thing about it is I get the impression that a lot of the good policies that I agree with are Biden's. But I also get the impression that Kamala Harris will toe the party line or toe the...
You keep saying that, and I don't quite understand what you mean by it.
You know what? I might not understand what I mean by it either. No, I think I'm probably just poorly expressing. I think Kamala Harris will... if Biden was Kennedy and Kamala Harris was Lyndon B. Johnson, Kamala Harris would deal with things the same way, in that Kamala Harris, if something were to happen to Biden, Kamala Harris would probably push for Biden's policies regardless of how she feels about them.
Yes.
I just don't get the impression that she would, on her own, fight for half the stuff that she will under Biden.
That's why, well, I'm taking that sideways a little bit, but in I will not disagree, but I will say I think a lot of people are ACABing her to the point that they're not looking at what she's actually been.
I will agree with that for the most part, although I have seen people jump to two extremes. And so while everything that she dealt with, dealing with trans rights, all the negative stuff she dealt with, to some degree or another, at the very least, some completely to was 100% with relation to her job. And obviously it's one of those things where if she just did the default of her job, she would have done the exact same thing.
Yes, and that makes that makes it difficult to parse out some things. But
yeah, now that said, obviously I disagree with Kamala Harris on sex worker rights. I actually like that does annoy me about Kamala Harris.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm staying off that topic.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. Just
are there a lot of trans sex workers?
Yes, there are.
Yeah, that's why. That's to some degree why that's paid attention to as well. Because that relates to the fact that a lot of trans people have difficulty getting jobs, and and have an easier chance of getting fired from jobs and all that stuff. So sometimes, you're left with very few other choices. Now that's not to say that obviously with sex work some people just enjoy sex work and that's their dream job, and which is fine, so long as they're not being controlled and abused by like a pimp or something.
And it can't be their dream job if they can't fall asleep on it.
What?
Never mind.
Anyways, the thing is, Kamala Harris has pretty much consistently fought against sex worker rights. Currently, she's fighting for a Nordic model, which is don't arrest the sex worker, arrest the client of the sex worker, which is just going to end up with the sex worker in a worse situation. So it's not a good thing at all. And but that said, she also is vice president. She's not president. And she's not going to be implementing these policies. Biden has stated quite clearly about trying to move things towards the complete decriminalization of marijuana, along with undoing the whatchamacallit,
weirdly enough, that's a Kamala thing. That's not him. That's one of the things against.
Okay. That is actually one thing for Kamala. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, she's got one thing for her and one thing very strongly against her. But like because I mean, obviously there are problems with that too. And no, I'm not just saying that because he brought up Kamala. Did it? No, it's not perfect, but it's a good step in the right direction. It genuinely is a good step in the right direction. Because nobody should go to prison for using drugs.
No.
That's absurd.
Well, and he's had an addict in the family, so he does understand that part, at least. The what strikes me as the way Biden will approach a lot of different things which have to do with rights for X or Y or XYs or however. He's not my perfect candidate either.
Oh yeah, no.
He's not. In 1988, I voted in the primaries for Paul Simon, who you've never heard of, except for the singer who shares the same name.
Oh, okay. I was, for whatever reason, thinking that you had done a write-in for Paul Simon, the singer.
No, they did a cute little thing on Saturday Night Live once together. So that's when Biden was running. What he has that is important, and the empathy towards everybody in whatever position that they are in is something that applies kind of across the board.
Yeah, empathy is kind of a vital aspect to actually fighting for people's rights.
Yeah. So it's
and yeah, no, that is a good thing. It's not, life isn't a cut and dry of, if it's not the best, it's the worst sort of thing.
Yeah, and you know how much I love cut and dry and lack of nuance.
You've been on Twitter a bunch, haven't you?
It'd be wonderful to live in a black and white world where everything had nice, sharp lines of declination. And
I wrote a story about that once. Somebody, and how horrible that would turn out to be.
Yes, then you'd be sitting in the world and pining for, I wish I lived in a world where there was some nuance, some gray areas.
Yes, but the movie was better, so I got to admit that one. Sorry, three things I can lay claim to in fame, but
Wait, are you saying? Wait, is Fluid Voice one of them?
I'm not famous for this.
I know.
Something I enjoy doing. Although I did go about an hour before we were supposed to start. I just shaved now. I was like, I want to do my job tonight. Do I have to do my job tonight? And everybody was, yes, you have to do your job. Okay. But it was more of a joke than me.
Yeah, I've probably been that way about the Fluid Voice before. I can't remember because today is one of those days where I'm just like, oh my god, everything's going wrong. I need to fix all these weird problems. Preferably before the Fluid Voice starts.
Yeah.
And now there are better thumbnails.
Oh.
So
thank you for that. Yep.
Yeah, it's because I do actually use a drawing program or whatever, although I barely use the drawing portion of it for this since it's mostly copying pictures and moving them around.
Well, I happen to like the picture I sent you. So
yeah, and I like my updated picture, honestly. I like that jacket.
The one that I usually use, the one with me on the guitar. Other people, there are people who tell me I look too boyish in it, and I get it. And the person who took that picture has said as soon as we get to perform again that she's going to retake that picture. And I told her I know exactly where I was in what song when that picture was taken, so I can do that like exactly. So it's gonna look a lot different.
Unfortunately, there will still be 30 retakes. I'm just kidding.
No, it's and I know it's silly. But yeah.
Yeah, and back to the people who won the election, or at the very least, every voting element of the election that there is. Yeah, we are not going to get. Obviously, we brought up a little bit about us not getting perfect candidates, and we already went through the perfect joke. But the important thing is that they're not Trump. No, the important thing is that there's a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
There's stuff that feels like it can be done, and it makes you get the impression that you'll be listened to a little bit. Or have a chance of getting listened to a little bit.
So when you say listened to, you mean now they won't use tear gas?
No, they'll still use tear gas. They just won't use it as much.
Really, I mean, dreamer.
Speaking of that, I don't think either of I don't think I don't think Biden or Harris will do a damn thing about the police. Not that they can do a lot, at the very least not directly, but like, they don't have a policy, and I realize there's a lot of shit that they have to do. It's just, I don't think there's much motivation there.
Yeah, what little they said, that it's going to be a big problem because of courts and stuff. I thought when I said dreamer, I thought you were going to the DACA, which is the first thing he's going to redo.
Yeah, that'll be good. However, just about everyone from the ICE needs to be fired.
Yeah, there's no other issue that I can say, oh, no, children in cages, this issue is more important than that. No, I think children in cages comes first.
I disagree. I think the mass hysterectomies.
Okay, yes, I just lumped that.
No, it's actually hard to choose between children in cages and hysterectomies, and that's all we know about.
Yeah, the hysterectomy eugenics program.
Well, the hysterectomy, the children in cages, the rotting food, the isolation chambers that violate
human rights.
Yeah, human rights. Fuck. Goddamn it! I'm trying to remember. See, now I'm trying to remember stuff I read from the Homeland Security. So Homeland Security did, I want to say 2017, 2018, one of those 2 years. Homeland Security went and picked a few ICE facilities and found some stuff very wrong. And I don't think these were surprise visits either. So,
right.
Yeah.
Part of the thing that bothers me is that, for instance, under the current administration, the card shuffle they have pulled, which is they changed the subject to be talking about I don't remember what it was, 500 and some children who they have in their custody, who they can't find the parents that belong to them anymore.
Yeah.
Having sent them back to live in an area where people are murdered and taken into slavery, regularly. Yeah. You go, well, I mean, because they don't have identities, they're untraceable people. You put untraceable people down, and criminals come by and do shit to them. Okay, that you go. They may not be findable. They may be dead and buried in shallow graves. I mean, surprise, surprise. But they also totally turned it away from. They have children they have parents who they can find, who they can't find the children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
We've lost your children. What the hell? That strikes me as a much bigger story.
And many of them were adopted out.
Yeah, and they don't know where. They don't have the paperwork on where. They don't know who they were adopted to. They don't know. You go, so you're telling me that their children could have been sold into sex slavery?
Yep.
And you don't know.
Yep. I usually like to bring it back to America with the number of American citizens who have been sent to ICE camps because they couldn't prove they're American enough immediately and had their American identity questioned.
Yeah, because they didn't speak English.
No. There were ones that spoke English just fine.
Yeah.
There was a sergeant who got, there was like a military a former military officer who got sent to the ICE camp. Like it's nuts the number of American citizens who have been sent to ICE camps because they had their identity questioned, they had their citizenship questioned, and it was guilty. The thing about ICE camps is it's guilty before proven innocent.
That's not even guilty of anything. But then again, you know how I feel on borders, because I don't. It's a concept I literally cannot wrap my head around. So, that may be a function of neurodiversity problems or whatever.
Well, I mean,
I don't get it.
Borders are a societal, a social, cultural thingy. It's not like there's no physical borders, and it's all, borders, governments, all that stuff is all a social construct that's only exists because people allow it, and to some degree they consent to it existing.
Yes.
To some degree. To some degree, it's assumed. I mean, if you grow up and you're told how important governments and borders and all that stuff is, it's a lot easier to assume that that's the normal, and the idea of humanity living together is the abnormal in that.
I should probably do just my own video on it, but how humans give or demand or ask for or etc. The issue of consent is not as easy as to say that people consenting is an agreement. Just the
implied consent. I should say, even though it's not like actual consent, it's implied that you are consenting if you don't fight against it. It tends to be culturally implied that you are consenting, regardless of whether or not you are actually consenting.
yeah, I mean, m- Milgram fucked up a lot more than of the way we should think about things than we actually tend to believe. But you know,
Yeah.
it's but yeah, consent is a tricky thing, and I am in no way, talking about lack of individual consent. Yeah,
My brain died.
yeah, I'm sorry. It's
My
something.
no,
It's
it's one of those
something I'm
things
very.
where when you're talking about if you're trying to deconstruct the concept of nations and governments on the fly, and you didn't actually prepare and sort through all your thoughts on that, a criticism of myself, uh, truly, it's a little bit easier for my brain to just die about when I'm just like, wait, I had a general idea. Now we gotten deeper into the actual deconstruction elements. It's too far. It's
This
too
is
far.
this is something that has fascinated me for years, and I know we've talked about it in private and on the show a couple of times.
Yeah.
I really should get. We should either do a show about it, or I should. Oh, yeah, we should either, or I should do it on my own channel.
Yeah.
The
Don't get me started. I already want to talk with Savaris about fucking nations or whatever.
yeah, that was a strange.
Look, I do want to have that conversation. I just Zavaris works weekdays, and like half the time I'm doing other stuff on the weekend. So it's just like, god damn it, there's like small windows of opportunity for me to take, and I'm just have been too busy worrying about other things. But to be fair, I'm like the second week after surgery, and before the surgery I had COVID, so it's like it's just been kind of it. I have not been at my full ability to do anything this past month.
No, I know, and I should have stepped up on a lot of that, and
I
had
mean,
my own thing.
you say that, but like, it is what it is, and it's fine. The show must go on.
The only thing I'll say now then is if anybody wants to be my girlfriend, I do consent to that. Laying that out there.
I mean, yeah, that said, then you start to get into the whole conversation about the idea of dating fans, because there are fans of the Fluid Voice. I know it's easy for you to reject that idea, or at the very least I might be projecting a bit, because it's very easy for me to reject the idea that anyone is a fan of anything I'm a part of. But I am aware that for some reason or another it's true and it's a wonderful thing. And I just refuse to accept it on an internal level. So they must just be fans of you, Christy. There's no other explanation.
So you're telling me there are people who've watched 2 episodes?
Well, Angelica's dating is partnered with a friend of ours. I have no idea. I'm just going by who's in chat. And Emily,
Angelica, has been around for a while and is awesome. And I've seen Emily Chambers. I've
Yes.
seen you, Emily Chambers, watching you.
Emily is awesome.
Yeah.
See, no, Angelique's with oh my God,
Shay.
Shay. Thank you. I helped her pick her
Yeah.
name. I can.
Yeah. See, I'm paying. Weirdly enough, I can't put in any effort to remember the thing I tried to do at the end that I stole from Christy, but I remember who's dating who. That's the important thing.
And in the immortal words of Billy Joel, and we will all go down together.
I mean, that gets in the way. Like, I mean, if it's all together, I mean, you have to organize a good pattern for that. So there has to be, like, so. Darn, I don't have it working. Wait.
We've just dance band on the Titanic.
Let's see here. So.
It just better not be human centipede pictures.
No. No, I wouldn't do that. But you know, you go around and I mean, it's not like a good drawing. But I'd assume if you're talking about multiple people, it has to end up in a circumstance somewhat like that, where it goes like around in a certain, because otherwise you're getting in each other's way. I mean, now you could have someone below and someone on top, depending on what they're eating out. But this episode will never be monetized.
There's a freedom in not being monetized.
A certain liberty that comes with it.
It's or libertinism.
Yeah, but seriously, when it comes to a lot of the electoral stuff, it is nice to feel some of the weight off, because it does feel like we've moved to a circumstance where Trump has a low chance of actually being able to do anything. I mean, not that he had a great chance before, but he seems like he has a much worse chance now.
Well, he's going to do a whole lot of things. I mean,
he's still president for another couple months.
Yes. At one point, I know his staff was looking into legally whether the president can pardon themselves.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. That said, he might. He hasn't been officially legally charged, and I don't think he will until after he's out of office. I'm not.
You can't charge the sitting president.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, so he can't really pardon himself.
That's under the. No, you can pardon people who haven't been charged yet, even.
Wait, how? That doesn't seem fair.
You can pardon people for all actions taken between date and date.
Yeah. The only
That's
caveat,
bullshit.
the only caveat to that, and Joe Arpaio didn't know this because he's an idiot and well rid of him. When they said in order to accept a pardon, you have to accept guilt. Accepting a pardon means accepting guilt.
Yeah.
Oh.
That part of that, you see, that you can't charge a sitting president. That's what Bill Barr used to create the legal conceit that that no report could conclude that the president had been guilty of any crime because the president is unable to use the defense. If I was guilty of anything, they'd arrest me. And therefore they could not answer the charge. And so you couldn't raise a charge. Otherwise, you would have so that was that's why Mueller's report doesn't say outright that he's guilty of anything, because that was the conceit he had to write it under.
One of the objections I had to Bill Clinton being sued, and to be perfectly honest, the only objection I had to Bill Clinton being sued, was that since a president cannot sue somebody, that's unequal. That is unequal under the law, but it also was. Sorry, it's again complicated and nuanced.
The Supreme Court had to make an individual ruling that it was okay that he could be deposed.
Yes.
And the Congress had an option to basically say, no, we disagree and he can't. And they let that lapse. They didn't take any action. They didn't vote on it. They didn't say yay or nay, in which case they are allowing it. And then he was deposed. And that's a horrible precedent. It simply was. But even under the deposition, the judge who took the depositions said that she made it very clear that she did not believe what she was being told, but she said that it could not be God, lost the word, lying under oath, perjury, there we are, P word. It couldn't be perjury because it was clear that it was not germane to the case, because whatever was happening between them, it was at least consensual.
Yes.
And so that meant that it was not germane to the lie they were telling wasn't germane to the case. You can walk in and be sworn into oath and say you ate an elephant sandwich for lunch, and there's no problem with that. That's not perjury.
Amazingly enough. So yeah. Speaking of which, Newt Gingrich he reared his fucking head again. Out of those, out of the three Gingrich children, why did we get stuck with the asshole? The sheep dip of the family. His brother's awesome, and his sister's awesome.
Oh.
And
yeah, well,
so. Oh well. Anybody who is named after Newton, can go fuck themselves. Except the SS Minnow, which was named after Newton Minnow, and I'm getting Alex levels of distracted here.
Okay.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we've been past the off-topic time period for a while.
And I'm off.
So technically, there's some consent with relation to being off topic.
Well, we haven't been terribly good about being on topic, and
to be fair,
in politics.
Look,
so on, but
sometimes I don't think about stuff as much in terms of setting stuff up, and sometimes I think we've done good wandering. I've enjoyed the wandering. Well, yeah, that's always ideal.
Except for the ideal geometry of orgies.
But I'm looking forward. I think that it's going to be very interesting, because I think that Trump is going to be filing lawsuits and continuing to do that, and trying all kinds of obstructionist tactics, because he really has to. I think he's very eligible for prosecution, and as soon as he is out of office, the moment he is no longer president,
yes.
the IRS investigation resumes.
Yep.
It was the moment he officially announced that he was a candidate for president, they had to pause it, but it's only on pause. It didn't go away.
Yeah.
And they're
Right.
looking to get back $79 million from him, which he doesn't have.
Wait,
Well,
what? Well, no. Maybe
Yeah.
he doesn't have $79 million.
he does not have
No,
70.
no, he doesn't
No.
have 79. If he liquidated everything he has, he doesn't have close to $79 million. And there's another group that lent him $350 million, and that's personally guaranteed. So there's no way to get out of it through bankruptcy. Anything he owns, they get first dibs on.
Yep.
And that's due. It's past due. It came due
Oh.
while he was in office,
Yep.
and he hasn't paid it because he doesn't have the money. And and the minute he's not in office, they can just come and repossess his car.
Those Washington Post articles were very, very interesting. Although I think because they were as long as they were, that a lot of people didn't get through them.
Can I
he's
just
he's in a world of hurt right now.
can I just say something?
And as compassionate and lovely as I am, fuck him.
Yeah, I agree. Emily Chambers brought up that consent actually would be a good topic in the future, and I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's an interesting topic to deconstruct.
There's someone I've wanted to ask on the show for a while, and I haven't, and I will check with, and I would love to talk. She would be a very good guest for
Okay.
that.
So we can set that up. That can be interesting.
I mean, it also, I just was going to the relations that the talking with people about the pronoun use, and that you use the pronouns that the person wants, that they and I related it to a consent issue, that you can't use pronouns that they don't consent to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I agree with that, because I mean, both with pronoun and gender, it's a description of there's gender, pronoun, all these things are these vague aspects of society that maybe when the nationalistic aspects of society fall apart, gender and to a lesser extent pronouns might become less and less meaningful, and might just pronouns won't disappear, because obviously pronouns like you, me, there's various uses for pronouns, but there won't. I genuinely think that gender will fall apart as there's less of a reason for it in society.
Literally, in 150 years, a sentence of "they is happy" may be perfectly good.
Christy.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I thought you were. I thought you disagreed for a second.
No, I mean, I'm very binary trans, so that's kind of like one of those oddities that I feel like I don't really have a say in.
Yeah, but I mean, like the thing is, I get that, and so it's one of those things where it's okay and understandable to have a hypothetical about the future. Sure. It's another thing to act on that hypothetical as if it's a guarantee.
Yes. And
so respecting everyone's, I mean, gender, pronouns, all this stuff is stuff that's in society at the moment, and people are trying to do their best to make to explain themselves in a way that they can make it clear to other people the gender the gender people are, or whatever, and there are various cultural and societal reasons for that. I just so I guess it's important to respect the situation now and the facts that we have now and the information we have now and what people care about now, and because there are some people who obviously go on extremes with gender deconstruction and are like, oh, gender is meaningless, so it should all just be gotten rid of now, regardless of how that impacts people in the moment, because there are all these assumptions that are already made about everything. Language is full of assumptions.
I'm gradualist on most things. I mean,
Yeah.
not everything. I mean, the gay rights thing, I was pretty militant. My friends were dying. That had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, that is generally a factor in how hard you fight for something when people's lives are on the line.
Yeah.
And also, it's a lot. So I get the impression that it's a lot easier to fight for something, make a strong argument when it's like when people are arguing that other people that you know shouldn't exist, and you're like, but those people are people. What's wrong with them existing? And that's why it's a lot easier for that to be fought for. But when you start to get into nebulous things about how to decrease the amount of suffering with socioeconomic issues, it gets a bit more muddy and difficult to make strong arguments for in when it comes to immediate action.
Yes, but people get all defensive when you say to them, so how is what you're saying different than proposing putting them on an ice floe?
Yeah, there's that.
Although they get all defensive about it.
They say we'll find what's important is, we can find a nice settlement where they can get along with other people like them and just keep them in a corner far away from us.
We'll buy French Guiana and move them all there.
Oh yeah, that worked out so well before.
Oh fuck! Where's the place Lincoln wanted to send black people?
French Guiana.
Oh, that was French Guiana.
That was French Guiana. That's also where Jim Jones went.
Yep. that's you. I caught exactly where you were going.
Nice. That is a nice reference. I want to give you a high five for that reference, Perfect, but you're like too far away. So virtual high five.
There, it works.
As long as human dignity is not something I think we can trade.
Yeah.
And I do the paradox of tolerance is a real thing. I don't care what it is or not. Although and of course, because there is one fan I'm well aware that is in one of the same Facebook groups I am in. If I had the lever on the trolley and Jared and Ivanka and Tiffany were there and nobody was on the other track, I'd still pull the lever.
Oh God!
In Minecraft.
You know what?
In Minecraft. if I was faced with the trolley of doom in Minecraft.
Yes.
You know what? I don't think I could do that. I don't think I would do that for them. Trump, yes. Them, no. But that's me.
I know it's me too, and you know it. I don't know whether it's question of being a Christian for a very long time. But I believe in the redemption of everyone.
I mean, there are various cultural aspects, and there are people who, well, let's just say that someone who moved from the alt-right down to a more left-wing point of view created a show and let's say came up with a nice term that I agreed with was an awesome name for the show, the fluid voice, and worked together with people and had actually made improvements.
Oh yeah, I lost
and they're good people. There are people who genuinely people aren't static. People aren't static. And you can't treat them that way. And
that brings us around to our politics now, and we can't.
Yeah, I don't think Kamala Harris or Biden are static. Definitely not Biden, and I don't think Kamala Harris is static either.
No, and
it just depends on willingness to change, and I've seen more active willingness from Biden than Kamala Harris, but that might change too.
And it'll be interesting to watch, although Trump was interesting too, but not in a
doomsday.
Will my parachute open kind of way that Trump was like.
Have you? There's I'm Mulhaney is his last name, a comedian. He does a routine where there's a horse loose in a hospital. It's become an in-joke amongst people I know. Yeah. It's like there's a horse loose in a hospital. You don't know what the horse is going to do next. This is his routine. That Trump is like a horse loose in a hospital.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's hysterical.
Yes and no.
You can find it on YouTube.
The problem is because fascist rhetoric tends to recycle. There are some aspects of Trump that are actually predictable.
Yeah, but I'm going to go out on a semi-philosophical but actually scientific note.
Okay.
And I'm not applying this to Trump, I'm just applying this to people in general. We use the term bull in a china shop. Actually, before, fuck that. Actually, I'm gonna do one before, because Jenny Nicholson said one of the something very funny along these lines. So I'll use hers and properly attribute it to her. We have to stop using the phrase avoid it like the plague, because it turns out that's something humans don't do.
Because we should have known that from all the zombie apocalypse movie where people cover up the fact that they were bitten by a zombie and end up causing major problems. And we all know those are the people who are anti-mask. Those are the types of people who, if bitten by a zombie, would try to hide it up and cause all sorts of problems.
But yes, but we use in general the idea.
I'm sorry, Arya.
We use generally the term bull in a china shop, and it turns out if you turn a bull loose in a china shop, very little will get broken.
Yes!
Because the bull is very careful.
Yes, I've seen that. I saw that tested out. I think I saw that. I don't know if it was a Mythbusters or some other show on Discovery or whatnot, but I saw them actually run a bull in a makeshift china shop, and it was just weaving through the aisles all fucking careful as shit and like quick and careful.
So a lot of people think they know a lot of things that they don't, is where I was going with that.
Yeah, and on that note, we
See?
should be coming to a close on this. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to The Fluid Voice if you are a new viewer. And you know what? Even if you're not a new viewer, just subscribe again somehow and find a way to just hack into other people's accounts and subscribe to The Fluid Voice and like, comment.
TOS, no, dwarf. In Minecraft. No, even that's TOS problems.
Anyways, don't do that. By the way, I don't want to get in trouble with that, and I don't think it'll help that much. And it's a lot of fucking work for, honestly,
very little reward.
Well, I was gonna say that, but then I thought about the fact that we're 13 short of having enough people to name the channel The Fluid Voice. So there is a reward at the end of it. No, don't do that. I'm seriously joking. Don't do that.
Do tell your friends.
Yes, do tell your friends and family. Always promote it. Perfict, where can people find you?
They can find me at the Rumpus Room, a Discord channel, and they can find me here.
Yep. Christy, anything you're working on, and where can people find you?
Where can people? Well, I don't know what I'm working on. I keep thinking I'm working on something, and I'm not.
That's definitely a mood.
That is definitely a mood.
You're working on The Fluid Voice like every week. In fact, you got the last guest we had on and chose the topic, so it's not like you did nothing.
Well, yeah, I've only missed 1.5 in the entire year we've been doing this, which is
I mean, it hasn't been a year yet, but it's getting clear. There's another 8 weeks, and then we'll hit a year.
That's fine. Yes, I love doing it. I love doing this show. So, Chris Abbey music, which is what I've been using in chat today, because otherwise I'd be getting notifications on my main channel. Christy Abbey is my main channel. No, nothing's gone up for a while. Yes, I still have the thing with Callan, but I still have to fix it because there was a mess up with the sound. And I will be booking more. I'm starting to dip into some of my circle for this, which I've been reluctant to do before for reasons because I don't know. I've heard it's a long explanation, but I'm feeling a lot more confident, and
which is good, and you should feel more confident.
Recently.
I mean, not to tell you how you feel in the abusive sort of way. I'm just saying you deserve confidence and happiness.
Although I will say I'm not subscribed to this under my Chris Abbey.
Wait, you're not subscribed? Psh.
I am subscribed to my regular thing because I got a notification.
I might be subscribed in this in my main channel. Probably. Oh fuck!
I get the notification, so I would assume I'm subscribed, at least, and hit the bell because that's what you're supposed to do. And we have a Patreon, and I promise to the winds that I promise to the north and east wind. And
remember to like and subscribe.
Yeah, that I will be.
I will be working on.
I will be working on the Patreon this week, and those who know what I promised in the North and East wind mean, good on you. and of course, Normality Quake on Twitter. Although I think I might finally change it to Christy Abbey.
Yeah, and I assume that's everything. Oh
wait. As of Friday, that will be my legal name.
Nice. Is that everything?
I don't know. I kind of got lost in there somewhere.
Okay. Well, whatever. I will promote myself, and you can message up if you think of something that you forgot. You can find me at Ozma in the Dark pretty much everywhere outside of Twitter, which you can find me at Ozma in the Dark on Twitter, but that's mostly automatic notifications of whenever I'm live on Twitch. Which is fine if you want to follow that, because you will know when I'm live on Twitch, because it'll auto show up. But I'm on, I almost said I'm in the Fluid Voice on Twitter. The Fluid Voice is its own thing on Twitter. Talking to Nothing. Wow. It took me that long to remember my Twitter name. Talking to Nothing on Twitter, Ozma in the Dark everywhere, OzmaInTheDark.com, Ozma in the Dark on Patreon, Ozma in the Dark on the YouTube. Technically, I have like 3 YouTube channels. I've only put stuff up on one of them recently, in like months. I am trying. You can always find me on Twitch. At the very least, Saturdays and Sundays. Sundays, the Fluid Voice goes up on Twitch, and obviously you can always find me here. And Saturdays, I stream World of Warcraft Classic raids. At the Saturdays are usually the current World of Warcraft Classic raid. It's still AQ40, and I'm guessing none of the viewers on the Fluid Voice know what that means. But
I stopped listening. What?
But we got a good hour and 13 run. It was a really good AQ40 run. Anyways, that's beside the point. We're semi-pro. Shut up. I'm a total esports type nerd.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so Patreon, Ko-fi, YouTube,
Ko-fi?
Twitch. So many places you can find me in Ozma in the Dark. And yeah, the most important thing, your voice matters, your life matters, you matter.
Yay!
A miracle has occurred. A Hanukkah miracle. Because for some reason I've been obsessed with Hanukkah over the past 2 weeks, despite the fact that
you have that taped to your monitor, don't you?
No, it's just that look, so the last time, okay, one quick story before this ends. So before I was getting breast augmentation surgery, there was the fact that I was going to be put under, and the last time I was put under was when I was a teenager, when I was put under to get some extra teeth removed. It was I was given some Valium to try to calm me down because I was terrified of needles at the time. Anyways, I associate teenage years with celebrating Hanukkah every year. And so therefore, the day of the surgery, I was like, I'm going to get put under today. And for whatever reason, I couldn't stop thinking about Hanukkah songs. Okay? So I have been obsessing about Hanukkah nonstop since then. I don't have a good reason. I mean, I just explained a whole good reason, but yeah. That's the story. And with that,
and your heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Yeah. And with that power, I was able to actually remember the 3 things
I see. Okay.
that I've been trying to say on this show for the past couple months, at least.
Cool.
So bye.
Peace.
Live long and prosper, all you lovelies.
Yeah, wonderful people.